Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Tonight's episode is one that I'd hoped to not make, but my conscience won't allow me to be silent. You see, when I first read the obituary that was written about Tamlyn, written by his former bandmate, I became somewhat perturbed, somewhat incensed in a way, because of certain things that came off as rather disingenuous. Now, I understand Tamlyn's fans will have their opinions, but here's the fact. And I'm going to read you the facts. I'm going to first read you what Sean wrote. What I have right here. This is the official LA County Coroner report. And what's in here is going to break your fucking heart. And so forgive me if I get a little emotional in this, because, well, frankly, he was my friend, and in spite of the fact that we did not resolve our differences before he passed away, this still upsets me. It upsets me deeply enough that years later I'm making these videos to discuss it. You know, mind you, again, my friendship with Tamlyn was, say, very different from my friendship with Roz. All right, and how I feel about it also differs, and nonetheless they're equally valid. And my concerns as well are equally valid as the person who pretty much was his best friend for during almost a near 5-year period, you know, from period of late 1998 to that May 5th of 2003. After screening the Attack of the Clones, or whatever, the Clone Wars, I don't remember. It wasn't part of the original trilogy, so it doesn't really matter to me. But we had seen with a mutual friend, and again, the issues over that human parasite that walked into Tamlyn's life and pretty much took over and drained him dry. It came up, and of course this led to our big blowout, and we never really talked again, but oddly enough we checked on each other here and there when I could hear things. But in his final years I couldn't get any information because he pretty much isolated himself. The following details are going to explain why, and forgive me as I drink, and I'll probably smoke throughout this, and that's kind of the way I cope through things, and to hell with you if you have anything negative to say about it. So let's get to this. First things first. So I don my little cute little reading glasses here. I'm going to read to you first what started all of this. Now, this was written July 7th, 2021. Okay, this is weeks, well, not weeks, but rather shortly after the news had spread. See, I didn't get this news for almost 3 years, until 3 years afterwards. So it was a damn shocker to me, and took it rather hard. So, without further ado, these are the words of London After Midnight's frontman, Sean Brennan. It is with deep sadness that I announce the death of London After Midnight's former live keyboard player, Tamlyn. Tamlyn was part of the live band since the first concert in 1990. And up until 2007, in good times, Tamlyn was a genuinely kind, caring, and talented person. Details are still emerging. We have no further information at this time. Now, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to get back to the rest of what he has to say. But I think it's important we get to the nitty gritty of this thing. Now, as we say in our group therapy, I'm going to give you trigger warnings right now. If you are what I'm about to read you is going to be very heartbreaking, and it's going to be in rather graphic detail, and trust me, it was hard to hear for me. I'll imagine it will be hard to hear for you. So, as we previously stated, Tamlyn, again, who left this earth identifying as a transgender, though deep inside he was, I don't know. It comes to a certain point where if he's embraced that life, there's no debating at that point. But his initial motivations for getting on hormone replacement therapy were more than questionable, and I highly discouraged it at the time, given my struggles and his fear of needles. I found it, rather bizarre that almost 4 years into our friendship, that all of a sudden he takes up a sudden interest in becoming transgender, and only because certain people had injected themselves into his life and started to play him like a cheap fiddle, and it was sad to see. So, pause 1 second. Sorry about that. We had to get a little more comfy. This is July in the city of angels and demons, and my feet tend to get a little burning. Yeah, I love that shit. So, without further ado, again, if you're easily triggered by graphic details, you might want to fast forward to the end, or maybe tune out. So, again, Tamlyn, or as he was professionally known as Henry Porch, made no effort to change his name or change his identity. He was comfortable doing something that, someone who had no intention of changing their sex would do, but I don't know, maybe it wasn't a priority for him. I don't quite understand that, but again, he didn't operate like your typical transgender person, because, and again, he's more of he was a little genderqueer. He was better described as more non-binary, but oh well, so much for that Klinefelter shit, right? So, we go through the initial page, which is the protocol. Okay, they have no box here that says non-binary. They listed him as male, and rigor mortis had already set in when he was discovered. Tamlyn, who was I want to say, he was over 6 feet, but they were saying 68 inches. He was found emaciated. He had dropped down to 114 pounds. He was bone skinny to begin with, but 114 pounds, that means he was skeletal. This is a man who had good royalties. He had a good income, and there was no reason for him to be emaciated. There was no reason for him to be in this position. He was found decomposed, meaning he had been dead for some time. Going on to the second page here. They're trying to describe him here. Nothing unusual about his abdomen, and genitalia, again, they mark, there's nothing to describe otherwise, even though they say his back and his rear had no injuries. Examination of the skin reveals decomposition, changes including dehydration and inactivity. Okay, so that means, you know, he was very dehydrated. He hadn't been drinking water. And so they ran a toxicology report. And in the opinion of the deputy medical examiner, they write, and it's right here. And if you all want to dispute any of these claims that I'm reading to you, I'm going to give you the case number. The case number is 2021-07608, John Doe number 206. And there's a 603 here. Okay, so that's how he's listed in the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiner Coroner. So, getting back to the deputy medical examiner, they said the cause of death is due to fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. There is no evidence of injury or foul play. The matter of death is accident. And it's signed by the deputy medical examiner, September 4th, 2021. Or as they often say, death by misfortune. Well, she'll continue on here. Now, this is the hard part. Now, again, if you are easily triggered, you might want to blank out this little part, because this part was hard to stomach when I first saw it. But as you can see, as they will show you the layout here, starting from his neck onto his left side is front to side to all the way up into his eye socket. Brace yourself. They were live creatures eating him, eating away his face. If you could only imagine. It's again, I just, no. I mean, you see, I'll remember when Premature Ejaculation did that show, and they brought a pig carcass in and saw these creatures, eating away, maggots. I can't imagine this happening to my different, see, I'm already having trouble. This happening to my friend. If he was your rock star, you were his fan. I understand this is hard to accept, but again, here's the detail. This is the activity, they say right here. And again, this is heartbreaking. So, getting on to the next page, and it comes to the medical report. Immediate cause: fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. Now, very unlikely he was aware there was fentanyl in the meth he got. Surprised me, because methamphetamine was not a drug he liked to take, at least when we hung out. Now, he knew I was an avid cocaine user, and every now and then when I couldn't go low, of course, do some speed now and then, but this was a drug he claimed he would never touch, yet here it is. So, they're ruling his death as accidental. How the injury occurred, it's a drug intake. And signed by the technician and witness. Examination. Again, he was found decomposed. Toxology screen. They examined his liver. And again, due to the decomposition, there was Not too much they can do with it. Alcohol confirmation, they write a level of ethanol. Now, I'm not sure what the hell that means, because Tamlyn really wasn't much of a drinker. And of course, it mentioned fentanyl, methamphetamine, and one other substance found in his system that's not too quite clear. Benzodiazepines, whatever that means, benzodiazepines. Not sure what exactly, in what form. Of course, this isn't going to tell you. And fentanyl, he had quite a bit in his system. They say 948 milligrams in his system, as opposed to 64 for meth. No, 6.1. So his amphetamine was 6.4, and the methamphetamine 6.1. But the fentanyl, that was a hot load that would have killed anybody. But judging by the high number, 948 milligrams. Fuck. I'm trying to kill a fucking moose with that shit. So special note, John Doe, number 206, had fenzapan, diazepam, nordzepam, caliban, some inconclusive. Okay, inconclusive due to specimen matrix being a level of decomposition. Again, case report, right there. It says accident. John Doe. Listed as a Caucasian. He was dehydrated. See case notes. Now here's something that for me personally pisses me off. His residence. Now, we'd shown you where he lived. He lived in a very nice place, and he could afford it. I mean, he had good sized royalties. He had a good amount of money. And, like I say, he was rather generous. I mean, that little David creature, aka Anna, that underage runaway that tried to assume his own identity, bled him dry, you know, bragged about how they would go out for steak dinners and were buying very, very expensive corsetry and ball gowns and beautiful, expensive stuff nobody could afford. Turned out that kid was 20 years old at death. Way too underage for Tamlyn. I had no idea where he was going with that, but so leaving that place at Wilcox, and I don't know at what point that he left that residence, he last resided on Skid Row. I mean, what the fuck? This guy, I mean, he lived a very comfortable life up until now. I mean, he was traveling to Phuket and get all his fucking surgeries, you know? I mean, you know, he didn't drive a nice car. I mean, he was kind of lazy on that department, but, you know, he wanted a nice corset, he wanted something nice, you know, he'd go out and get it, you know, and no problem. Someone else wanted it. Well, I mean, the most I ever hit him for was groceries, you know, you know, but we'll get into that. And again, they say he was found. Okay, so, and here's a further addendum from the coroner. It says, during a welfare check conducted by the manager on June 28th, 2021, Now, mind you, this was during the pandemic, okay? So, the decedent was found lying, propped up against the wall, his chin on his chest, in a state of advanced decomposition. LAPD have responded, and they had determined death at 1717 hours. So 1,717 hours. There was a syringe with a needle that found in his right hand. It was not visually identifiable, but was believed to be the sole occupant of the residence, who identifies as female Porch. Henry II, date of birth May 4th, 1961. No obvious external traumatic injuries noted in the foul play. Information sources: LAPD, on-scene investigation. So it goes further. Now this is from the LAPD. Now this is the investigator's narrative. I'm showing it to you. So nobody can turn around and say, oh, you're skewing this, you're trying to fit your own narrative because maybe you want to, make some bones out of this or pick a fight with Sean Brennan. And I have absolutely no interest in that. And, for the matter of fact, I will tell you, first time I ran into Sean, he was with David Herman, and he wasn't Sean Brennan yet. He was just some long-haired kid who didn't have any fucking fashion sense and was being shown the ropes by the guy who worked the door at Scream. So you can imagine how I feel about it, but that's besides the point. And again, we'll get in there. I have no fucking interest in any of this shit because, again, I don't have much of an opinion of Sean Brennan. And, considering we've known each other for over 35 years, we've exchanged maybe 3 words between us in all this time. So, no love there. Excuse me while I do the God thing and light up a clove here and continue with my wine. So, according to the LAPD, on Monday, June 28th, 2021, at 1824 hours, Officer Montañega of the Los Angeles Police Department Central Area reported the apparent natural death to Valerie Sickles, reporting desk at the LA County Medical Examiner Coroner's office. It was reported that the manager went to the decedent's apartment for a welfare check and found the decedent sitting on a bed in a state of decomposition with insect activity. Called 911. The death was determined on scene. At the time of the call, medical history was unknown. Officers found no prescription medications, illicit drugs, or alcohol on the scene. No foul play suspected. It was further reported that the decedent was believed to be Henry Porch, who goes by the name Tamlyn Porch. I was assigned to the field by Lieutenant Michael Lee on Monday, June 28th, 2021. At exactly 1843 hours, I changed the incoming mode to the accident after finding the syringe and needle in the decedent's hands. Location of death was place of injury and death, bedroom, at 240 East 6th Street, apartment number 409, Los Angeles, California, 90014. And for those fans who want to go lay them over, please don't go there. It's a bad scene. You don't want to go to that place. It's nothing to see there anyway, and it's really a rough neighborhood. It is Skid Row, so I highly advise against it. It's not like where Ross died in a nice place in West Hollywood. This is not a nice place. Witness information statement. Interviewed Officer Leon at the scene. In essence, she believed the following information. They were reviewing preliminary unit who who responded and spoke to the manager, provided her with the emergency contact information of the resident and a friend, and this part has been redacted. Referred to the resident as female, knew the resident had siblings but did not have contact information for them. We didn't have any contact information. He mentioned siblings, but never mentioned how to get in touch with them. The decedent is believed to be the sole occupant of the residence. Henry Porch, the decedent, also filed out the apartment application as a female, aka Tamlyn Porch. On June 28th, 2021, the decedent was found unresponsive in a state of decomposition. Los Angeles Fire Department Rescue Ambulance number 209 responded. Call sign George 370914, pronounced, and George caused time of death 17 hours. During my scene investigation, no alcohol, prescription, or illicit drugs was found. Drug paraphernalia was found on and near the bed. Scene description. I left the Forensic Science Center at 19:11 hours, and I arrived at the scene at 19:26 hours. The scene was located in the apartment building on the south side of 6th Street, Maple Avenue, and Wall Street. The building had secured entrance to a lobby of the elevators. The decedent's apartment was on the north side on the 4th floor. The apartment consisted of a kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. In the bedroom, there was a bed, southwest corner, dresser, television, closet, window. The decedent was located lying supine on the bed with the head and to the west and feet to the east. I left the scene at 20:51 hours. Arrived back at the Forensic Science Center at 21:07 hours. Evidence. I collected the medical evidence at the scene. Multiple broken glass pipes were collected from the dresser, glass pipe, and 2 capped syringes that were collected at the foot of the bed. Again, this was the man who told me for 3 straight years he was afraid of needles. I squealed the very first time I gave him an injection of estrogen. The needle was found at the decedent's right hand and was collected. An evidence log was completed and submitted with the evidence. Body examination. Again, this is the coroner's report. I'm not making any of this shit up. Why would I? My age. What's the point? There's nothing to fucking do there. The decedent was transported, blah, blah, blah. Attended. The decedent was an adult Caucasian biological male who appears to have reported to be 60 years of age, shoulder-length gray hair. And I guess he wasn't dyeing his hair anymore or just gave up. He had no facial hair and incomplete natural teeth. That means he must have been missing something. Seated, was clothed, reclining, bed, neck was bent, right between mattress and the wall, and a left palm touching a blanket on his left hip. The decedent was wearing a black bodice and black underwear. Well, guess he was living the life at the end. That's still a hell of a way to go. The decedent had possible breast implants. Well, that's a news to me considering how flat he was. Yeah. The decedent was in a state of advanced decomposition with blackened fingers, dehydrated skin, bloated facial features, and bloating insects were present. Again, maggots. Sad. Temperature was 78 degrees Fahrenheit at 1943 hours. Now, 1943 hours, that's about, that's 9:45 at night. So, warm night in June. Rigor mortis was resolved. At the time of the report, the decedent had not been positively identified, but was believed to be the sole occupant of the residence, confirmed with California DMV identification. license number A1957240, Porch, Henry II, date of birth, May 4th, 1961. Next of kin, can't find any. Tissue donation, the decedent was not viable due to advanced state of decomposition. No law enforcement request was noted. And again, this is just fucking sad. Get to the final page here, medical evidence, and there's really nothing here. So, that's the hard truth here. Now, let's get back to that obituary. I'm going to read you the part that pissed me off. These are the words of Sean Brennan. And now, there are some things in here that I will dispute. And only because this is based on the information that Tamlyn provided me back when we were friends. He says that Tamlyn was merely a live musician, not a founding member of the band. Bullshit. Tamlyn would have disputed that. Tamlyn claimed to have been a founding member of the band. Okay, that, again, I will be his advocate in that department, and he will say, yes. Sean will say whatever. Okay, so be it. And so getting back to what he says, I'd like to take this opportunity to say anyone experiencing emotional crisis who suffers any kind of stigma, persecution, or abuse, ostracization due to their gender identity or sexual orientation should never feel hopeless. And there are many people who are can and willing to help. Well, where the fuck were you, Sean? Seriously. I only went to one show, and I heckled the shit out of you, okay? I mean, because it was fun, all right? But the fact of the matter was, I was a little pissed off that Sean, and this is something that maybe London After Midnight fans may be unaware of, but at some point after 2002, it was around 2000 or 2001, Sean stopped trusting Tamlyn and wouldn't let him play live. He'd have him up on the stage, and Tamlyn would say, Sean pre-programmed everything. So I said, then what do you need you for? I'm window dressing. I said, so essentially you're faking it. He said, yes, I'm faking it. I said, wow. You gonna let him do that to you? Come on, stand up for yourself. And I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. He didn't want to piss Sean off. I don't know. Sean can cast a really intimidating glare when he's got all his makeup on, but I've seen him without it, and not gonna work on me. Remember, I've been at this a little longer. Anyway, about the time when he had taken his first estrogen injection, Tamlyn, he started to change his manner of appearance. He started to dress very feminine a little bit, and it pissed Sean off. I mean, I went to one show, and Tamlyn decided he found this obnoxious pink. This thing was like Dayglow pink bolero jacket. It was fuzzy. It was like 4 inches thick. It was a hot night in the summer. I'm like, why the fuck you want to wear it? He's like, he's wearing a PVC, he's wearing this PVC and fishnet outfit, all black, for stage. They're going to play at the Whiskey, right? And this is when I was hanging out with Tatiana, who was Sean's roommate, which, incidentally, because I was hanging out with Sean's roommate, I got to see Sean's bedroom. Interesting collection you have there, my boy. Anyway, so, Jesus fucking Christ. And it gets more crazy, because at that time, it's like, I already had it with this guy. Because, first off, one of his ex-girlfriends, and Dallas, she worked for me in the film industry. And, she never said anything about it, but, she just kind of would change the subject real quick. But there were other girls, and And unfortunately, during my own turmoil, I wound up getting involved with his stalker. I didn't know she was his stalker, but that's a whole nother video, and I don't know if I really want to get into the whole diva destruction thing, which I strongly believe that the band name was named after me, because I am the virtual death diva, and she wanted to destroy me, but she was more or less obsessed with Sean. I mean, who would spend 2 years following wherever he went? I mean, it was right out of before they came out with Headway, that whole thing of stalking somebody. But again, this is where the album cover or album name Psychomag likely comes from. So anyway, there's our connections. So I'm not going to go into that any further. But here's the thing. Sean was deeply perturbed that Tamlyn started wearing this pink fuzzy shit. I mean, I thought he looked ridiculous, but hey, I was going to stop him. This is what he wanted to do. This is what he wanted to do, Who the fuck am I to judge, right? Though I told him, it's like, you really want to wear that? Come on. I mean, it's kind of odd. It's kind of, I mean, if you're doing a punk rock thing, I get it, but you're doing a whole fucking goth thing. It's just not the same. It's not going to work. I mean, if you got the fucking Anarchy t-shirt, you got maybe a Sex Pistol, never mind the Bullocks, you've got, the Destroy, thing, or the Viva La Rock, it's like, okay, punk rock, I get it. Yeah, sure, everybody will get that, but no, all this, black vinyl and fishnets, and then you got this big pink fuzzy thing. But Sean would just keep, give me these looks from stage. And of course, it didn't help that we're up there with the girlfriends, taunting him to play Roller Coaster of Love. We were on a 70s disco kick at that moment just for fun, because we knew it was annoying the shit. But hey, there was only like 30 people in the crowd that night at the Whiskey, and which kind of throws me when I hear that, oh yeah, Mexico City, they get about anywhere between 2,000 and 10,000 people at a show. I go, really? Wow, they can't even get 30 people over here. But hey, whatever, whatever works, And whoops, again, these fucking things just go out on me all the fucking time. Ugh. So this care for LGBTQ individuals, I find Sean's claim here a little disingenuous, and that kind of irks me a little. But what irks me more is that, aside from the fact that he claims he was not a founding member of the band, I suppose John Koviak was just a figment of our imagination as well. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, London After Midnight. Well, hey, they got one good song out there. Okay, I'll grant them that. And they earned their place in goth history. Yeah, sure. I'll grant them that. I'm not going to really just the band, because I can't say anything negative about the other members of the band, and I'm not going to really go on and on about Sean. But we have one other bone to pick. Now, this issue of Tamlyn winding up on Skid Row, I'm going to call bullshit on that. And here's why. Because Tamlyn made some good royalties, right? Now, regardless of, little David, aka Anna, the human parasite that bled him dry, it was out of his life by 2004, I think? 1 year later, he was dead. And died at the age of 20. Very, very underage. Tamlyn should not have taken this child in. I had no idea it was that young. Not happy to hear that one, but it is what it is. Betty Davis once said, never speak, only speak good of the dead. So, Anna being dead, good. But this bullshit, because I'm going to relay a little fact to you. And it's probably going to piss somebody off, and I frankly don't care, because I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off that this happened to my friend. Not only am I pissed off, but the fact is, you see, again, I felt guilty when I asked him for groceries. He spent like $200 on me, okay? Not 100 later on, small, few bucks here, a few bucks there. Nothing more than $20 at a time, you know. It's like, he revealed to me he'd been making loans to Sean. 10,000 here, 20,000 there. When we last parted ways, Sean was on a hook for over $65,000. What did he spend it on? I don't know. The big Nazi collection he had in his bedroom, well, can't say that cost that at all, but who knows? I'm not going to get into his fucking life, and I don't fucking care. You know, I was married to a minor rock star, if you will, and you know, it's not even worth going into. But it kind of pisses me off to know that at that time, being on the hook for over 60 grand, he hadn't paid him one dime, not one dime back. And the worst part was, just before we parted ways, he was hitting him up for another 20 grand. And Tamlyn was going to give it to him. So with that much money owed, let's just say, I'm going to fairly guess that maybe he did give it to him. He owed him almost 90 grand. That's a lot of fucking money. Yeah, especially for a man that doesn't make much money. And so how is it that Tamlyn wound up at Skid Row? This is not what a friend does. Not what a friend does at all. So I questioned this disingenuous bullshit I find here. I find it all very disingenuous. You know, it's like, tries to take the whole thing away and say, well, it's like we should take better care of him. And yeah, you should have. You were his fucking bandmate for so many fucking years. You should have at least checked on him or something, unless you were his fucking enemy or something. I wanted to check on him, but I had no way to contact him. I had no way. And I had only one encounter in the last 10 years, and he tried to get away from me as fast as he could in his funny-ass walk he made. And, well, as I said, when I went to Tracy Michael's funeral, and I put my hand on the top of his embalmed, cold, dead hands, I said to him, I'm sorry that you and I could not resolve our differences when you were alive. And, to Tamlyn, I say the same thing. I wish he would have reached out to me. I would not have allowed him to wind up on Skid Row. Whether we would have confronted Sean about this money issue, or we would have tried to find him alternative funding means or whatever, or taken him in, we would have done something for him, Okay, I'm not the kind that will show up with a baseball bat. Okay, I did that one time, but that's the one time. Okay, that was the Diamala situation with a fucking stalker. Okay, all right, but no, I wouldn't. I'm not that type, really. That was back in my alpha male days, but, that's in my rearview mirror. So, I don't know. I'm not looking to pick a fight with Sean, because again, I don't really give a damn about Sean. I really don't. And there's more I know about him, but it's not worth mentioning, and I'm not going to mention it. But this little tidbits of money owed, and Tamlyn's fall, and how he was completely written off as being a founding member, and this now sudden care for LGBTQ people by a person who was not thrilled to have one in his own fucking band. I find it all fucking disingenuous, and I'm calling it out. I'm calling it out. And if you're a fan and you're not happy with any of this, I'm sorry, but this is the fucking truth. It's all right here. You don't believe me? Read it. Look it up. It's available. It's public information. We pulled it. We got it. You can too. Again, case number, LA Coroner file. Let's see. Let's read it to you one more fucking time for those who doubt me here. Case number 2021-07608, John Doe, number 206. Then there's this 603 bid. Tamlyn, Porch, Henry, 2nd. Date of birth, May 4th, 1961. That's there. You can look it up. Just like the obituary he wrote, which, again, pissed me off enough to want to make these videos. And I felt Tamlyn was owed better. I just wish I could have done something, you know. Now, again, before you come at me and say, well, why didn't you do something? Well, you know, again, I had no contact because he was too goddamn stubborn. You know, put his differences aside. He wouldn't let that fucking parasite. He wouldn't let that parasite go. And so be it. It's a damn shame because he was a good, kind person. Very talented sound engineer. You know, little story I didn't share before. And this is the character of Tamlyn. There was this underage girl that kind of dropped in on the scene, and she tried to latch on to Tamlyn, and Tamlyn was like, well, you know, I really can't have this, you know, this girl is way too damn young. And this was again before David dropped in on her. And she wound up seeing their sound engineer. And okay, now you heard me already say make some harsh accusations of Sean Brennan. Now Sean Brennan actually gets to be a good guy in this story. All right, okay, I don't have any hatred here. This is what it is, right? But Sean and Tamlyn both quickly discovered that their sound engineer, this big fat dude, I can't remember his name now, and he did their sound engineering for a couple of their shows, and he was probably about 39, 40 years old at the time, had taken in this young girl, and he was sexually exploiting her, and on top of that, he was feeding her but charging her for every nickel and dime. And this guy had come to become known as a guy who was, you know, doing a lot of raping and shit. And me and Tamlyn, we went over there and we confronted that guy, and we got her out of there. You know, Sean had provided the information where he was, and he was over there in Hollywood on, I want to say on Cherokee, bad street. Yeah, I lived there briefly. It was a bad place. And well, Sean wasn't part of the rescue. Me and Tamlyn went in there and we got that girl. We got her out. Eventually, we were able to get her a Greyhound ticket home and send her off to Santa Clarita. She had called me. She'd call me or contact me on back then on the This was back in the MySpace days. She'd contact me a year later, let me know that she had went back to her parents, finished her school, got her shit together, and you know, had since married some guy and is carrying her first child, and this person has provided her a safe home, and she wanted to thank me and Tamlyn, and I don't remember if she mentioned Sean or not, but you know, we saved that girl together, and it was a very noble thing to do, and that's a part that fans and critics alike will never know. We'll never know what a noble person my dear Henry was. And I'll miss him. I really do. In some ways I feel I failed him, you know, but at the same time, maybe we felt mutual about it, because again, up until his dying day, he was asking about me. And I asked about him every chance I got through our mutual friend. And it was through our mutual friend that I learned the news of his death and the manner how he died. And this is a damn shame. You know, this should have never happened to one of us. someone so prominent in the scene. Scene should have taken care of him. His fans should have taken care of him, maybe, I don't know. His bandmates, I don't know. If he didn't want to reach out to me, there was plenty of people who could have reached out, but he didn't. And it's hard to say that maybe that does fall on him. But he should have never wound up on Skid Row. I don't know if that money was ever paid back to him or not. But regardless of which, shame on the people who allowed this to happen. And the rest of us, we get to live with the shame that we let this guy fall through the cracks. And perhaps we should have been better friends. I don't know. I thought I was doing the right thing, trying to call him out on this, this parasite that was robbing him, and to his exes and other girlfriends and dear friends and former bandmates who are watching this, I'm sorry you had to hear this, but this is the truth, and you need to hear it if you gave a damn about him. And yeah, it sucks, and I know some of you will find this very hard to accept, especially you, Thais, if you're watching here in Mexico City. This is not how it was supposed to be. Ya sabes. Pobrecita. Pobre cuate. De chica. Well, so that's all I really have to say on this. Again, I'm sorry this had to happen. And again, as Tamlyn's one-time friend, this is just another hard death for me to bear, and there are plenty of them. And no, I'm not planning on making videos of all of them, but I felt Tamlyn was owed. I felt our friendship demanded that I speak about it, and the times we spent together, the laughs we had, even his rather strange love he had for me, which I unfortunately I could not accept. Sorry, he wasn't my type, and I don't like people being dishonest with me, but that's another subject. Yeah, sounds hypocritical considering how I feel about Ross, but that's different. Well, this has been Ava Death Dolly, and this was the hard truth about Tamlyn of London After Midnight. Nobody knows what became of his body. I believe no one claimed it. There is no grave. There is no grave marker. His siblings and family probably do not know what became of him. And the whole thing is just sad. If you have some friend that is going through some shit, try to reach out. Don't let this happen to them. It shouldn't have happened to Tamlyn. It shouldn't happen to anybody. So, as I always say, take what you can from this life lesson, mistakes of others, controversies, learn from them. Please be good to each other. Take care of one another. Be your brother's keeper. This is where the story ends. Love you all.